We could win this war.
We can win this war?
Okay, well, joining us from Orlando, Florida, is the man in that clip, Anthony Dream Johnson, who says he wants to abolish feminism and make women great again.
No, but it also says, with the trademark, make women great again for women. Always great.
Make women great again.
But they're going to do a 3-day seminar for women led by all men.
In mansplaining news, a 3-day conference for women led by men hopes to make women great again.
How the 22 convention will make you the greatest you ever. Raise your femininity by 500%.
First of all, how is a man supposed to tell a woman how to be the ultimate woman?
But women need to be taught how to be great again. Not my words.
We do.
Like how to land a husband, how to lose weight, how to pop out a bunch of kids.
Why do men think they need to fix the problems of women?
Well, it says the world's ultimate event for women.
In Orlando, Florida, that's going to be the scene of the crime. It's mansplaining palooza, and say no to the toxic bullying feminist dogma.
Taught by men to make women great again.
Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
The first president of the manosphere.
It's run by all men, which promises to, quote, make women great again. This course is guaranteed to raise your femininity by 500%.
Together, we will make women great again. Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing radical.
Welcome to the inaugural 22 convention put on by the 21 Summit. Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony Dream Johnson.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Morning, ladies. I'm back from my opening address yesterday. I appreciate y'all once again coming here to the first ever 22 convention. I just realized and kind of discovered, thanks to Socrates, that we have the youngest attendee ever of any of our conventions at 8 weeks old. So give it up for the 8-week-old baby. Make babies great again. Should be the greatest woman ever. Yep. Anyways, for my talk, the title is Motherhood First, hashtag Motherhood First. Like America first, Britain first, Canada first, motherhood first. As you might have guessed, this is a talk about motherhood and motherhood coming first, and why I think that's important and why that should be reestablished as normal and a default in America and throughout the West, where I think that has fallen off a cliff and motherhood now is delayed much, much later into life. I think it's not a good idea, it's not the wisest decision, and it's not even biologically sound, and we'll get into why that is. So motherhood first, you might even recognize the image too. This is one of the images that I think made the website and the convention itself go viral. Just a nice picture of a woman with a baby, but you might recognize that's where it's from. Moving on. Make women great again, question mark. So when I first started this convention, there was a lot of attention to it. We reached 150 million people. It went on TV, all kinds of interviews, TVs and radio were attacking us, all kinds of stuff. And a lot of them viewed me they viewed me correctly as a speaker, but they viewed me also as kind of like, for lack of a better term, like a dictator to the speakers. And they think that I dictate the content of the conference, and the opposite is true. I'm very kind of libertarian-minded, not only in politics, but also in being an entrepreneur. I don't dictate anything the speakers say, with a few limitations. They can't endorse racism, feminism, or communism. Those are the 3 rules they get, and that's it. Beyond that, they say whatever they want. I don't agree with them all the time. A lot of times I do, obviously, that's why they're here. But there's a lot of disagreements. I like being around people I disagree with. For example, a lot of our speakers are Christians, and I'm not. And these guys are hardcore, some of them, reverends, pastors, all kinds of people. So I bring a lot of diverse people up here for a diverse lineup of ideas. And I think that's fallen away in America, even with the First Amendment, never mind the rest of Western nations. So our conference is a very diverse lineup. Anyway, with Make Women Great Again, as a founder, I've become kind of super associated with the hat, which has actually been around since 2018 when I first found it and fell in love with it. I saw it, like I mentioned to you in my opening address, at 2 or 3 in the morning. It was a gag hat, and it looked different. It was a different format. But I knew if I did it right and red and beautiful, it would be just amazing. Long story short, I've become associated with the hat heavily on the internet. And so I think people assumed I would give a speech that was very comprehensive and kind of global for the event. But I chose not to do that specifically and on purpose this year. Maybe in the future, in the next year, and the year after that, or something like that. But I specifically chose not because I don't want to step on the speaker's toes. I view my conventions for men, for fathers, and now for women as like a painting. And I build the frame, the border, and the speakers fill it in. I do too. I speak a little bit. But I'm like maybe 10% or even less, 8% or whatever of the content. And I'm very mindful about that because I don't want to step on their toes. I want to give them room to breathe and to paint, to be creative, and to be even combative sometimes, be polarizing so these videos go viral and reach millions of people, which I think is important for educational purposes as well as entertainment sometimes. It's a very mixed kind of conference, right? Anyway, that's why I'm not doing a speech on Make Women Great Again, even though I think a lot of people would assume that. No, but maybe next year. So Motherhood First is a topic I chose. I chose it specifically before I went on TV, and I knew I'd be asked that question with Good Morning Britain and Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid earlier this year. And I am following through on that now with a whole speech on that. And we're going to get into that even more here. This speech is also about ending what I believe to be a war on motherhood by feminism and by feminists today. I think abortion is an example of that. And again, I'm not a Christian, I'm actually an atheist. So I'm not speaking to that from a religious perspective at all. I'm speaking to it as an American and as a man, and my ideas related to politics, individual rights, and human life. So again, not a Christian, but I'm atheist. But I do believe there's a war on motherhood, and it's not just abortion, that's just one component of it. That's part of a larger map. And they wage war, I think, not just culturally on motherhood, but on fatherhood as well. That's why I have all conference dedicated to fathers to restore fatherhood and restore patriarchy from a strong fatherhood, masculine perspective. Like Coach Greg was talking about, a masculine voice and a masculine authority figure in the home, which is a very positive and very good thing, most of the time, by far. So this is a speech about ending the war on motherhood, and I really think it's unhealthy that feminists have done this. Abortion is a good example, but it goes beyond that. I've seen women defending my conference and me on the internet, mothers and single, young women as well, and they get blasted for just agreeing with me in any way, shape, or form, even if it's different from me, even if they're agreeing with me but disagreeing with some other things. They get bombarded with negative comments and memes, all kinds of disgusting stuff. You should look around, Google Anthony Dream Johnson and these conventions, you'll see all kinds of wild stuff. But I really believe this is true. There's a war on fatherhood and motherhood and family, and feminists leading the charge on this. And in my view, no one's really doing anything about this at any meaningful scale in the culture. Political conservatives are not doing crap about it. They talk a little bit about family values, but it's mostly just smoke and mirrors. Not always, but mostly. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot for it. Christianity too, I think, for example, they talk a lot about family too. As Pastor Michael Foster talked about yesterday, feminism has invaded the churches and massively changed it, all of them. Not just one of them like the Catholics or the Baptists or whatever, all of them. And feminism, as I see it too, is extremely widespread. It's throughout all the religions, it's throughout all the schools, it's throughout the governments and everything. It's completely widespread through culture, it's dominated everything. So there is a war on motherhood in my view, and fatherhood and family, and I want to end that, and I want to change that. And this speech is one stepping stone for that, along with this entire conference. And the hat, and Make Women Great Again. Let's talk about the state of women today, as if you haven't heard enough about that already, from my friends and other speakers that you've enjoyed so far. So these are two articles related to the same thing. A couple years ago, there was a study that came out, but it's not just a study. This has been studied extensively for decades and decades and decades. And it's about female happiness self-reporting through massive questionnaires and studies that go out. Female happiness has been declining for decades and decades and decades. Right now, it's the lowest it's ever been in history, in American history anyway. This is a paradox, and this is reported on the New York Times and the Guardian, as well as actual more formal academic places. This is a paradox, as feminists call it even. They're confused by this. They have more feminism than they've ever had. America, for example, is more feminist in 2020 than it's ever been. Than 2019, than 2000, than 1940, all that, right? We're more feminist than we've ever been by a mile. So why are women less happy than they've ever been? And I say less happy because that's just a euphemism. The women, at least in terms of studies and massive questionnaires like that, they're more miserable than they've ever been. That's a non-PC, non-politically correct way of saying that, rather than they're unhappy. No, they're miserable. That's what that means. And I think feminism is directly related to that. Now, correlation is not causation. You can't just say we have more feminism, therefore women are miserable, but it's certainly an interesting point. I think there's a lot to it to break down. We'll get into a little bit of it. But this is very, very well studied, and the feminists even agree. And for them, they write articles about it, and it's confusing to them. To me and to my buddies in the manosphere, this whole manosphere community that we're giving you this convention from, it's not confusing. This makes a lot of sense. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's worse now than it was 10 years ago. It's worse now than it was a year ago. So this is a problem we need to look at as part of making women great again. Continuing on that timeline, this is an article from CBS News, and there's a lot of articles, and this came out in 2017. Alcoholism is skyrocketing for women over 50. And there's some more associations with that, like Michael Foster talked about yesterday. Psychiatric medications are skyrocketing for men and women, but especially women. It's outpacing the men, and they're drinking themselves basically to death. This is not good. Alcoholism is a serious problem, in general, but for women to see it happening in women over 50, that's a big and unique and specific problem, to the point that it generates major mainstream media articles. And I think, so this is women over 50 is what their study was from. It was pretty well established and pretty well done and all that. I think we're going to see more articles now, say in 2021, 2022, and all that in the years to come. You're going to see articles saying now alcoholism is skyrocketing for women in their 40s and in their 30s. I don't know if it'll make it to the 20s, but maybe. Basically, it's the female unhappiness that keeps increasing, misery from feminism, in my view, and other associated problems. And people want to numb the pain. What do? Alcohol. They could do other drugs too, obviously, and psychiatric medications, antidepressants and stuff. But alcohol is cheap, easy, everywhere. So this is not that surprising, and it's sad. As much as I'm a huge asshole on the internet, I don't like seeing this. I love my country. I love my countrywomen, even if they don't like me a lot of the time, even if we're combating and butting heads online. I want to see women in America do well as, technically everywhere. But I'm an American, and I think first about my country. America first, motherhood first. So it's a big problem, and I want to help solve it. And drinking, not good. And it's, again, one more illustration of what's happening to women, the state of women today. Another one is this: fertility rates plummeting. This is from The Atlantic. They've done a lot of articles on the manosphere and stuff like that, and they're very pro-feminist. It's just a major mainstream media kind of website. You would see the exact same article come out of the New York Times or anything like that, The Guardian and stuff. So it's the misplaced fears about the United States' declining fertility rate. Many women may not be abstaining from having children, but simply delaying it. So number one, anytime you see anything about feminism in mainstream news, anything they're negating, don't worry about it. You have nothing to worry about it. It's not a problem. Bullshit. Remove the not, remove the nothing, or it's never going to happen. Any kind of never, not, nothing, it's BS. They're negating it because they're hiding something from you. One of my favorite authors and philosophers is actually a woman named Ayn Rand. You might have heard of her. She died, I believe, in 1982, and she was famous for creating the philosophy of objectivism, writing Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, and several other books too, like We the Living. A couple movies came out too about these. Actually, all of her major books are in movies at this point. Anyway, what this is called is package dealing. So they're package dealing by negating it, they're packaging in a lie. This is how they manipulate women. This is how feminists are very clever and manipulative. Not that they're all like some evil geniuses like scheming in some back room. It's that they have certain values and certain agendas and they want to get them across. Sometimes it's not even malicious. They really believe in what they're saying. But the negation is usually a lie. It's usually the tell, like a poker tell. The not, the nothing, the never. No. No is a decent one though, but they don't usually do that. It's always these clever words. Don't worry about it. Nothing's going to happen. Anyway, the fertility rate in the United States is plummeting. It's plummeting all around the West. I think there's a few exceptions, like maybe Poland, if you even consider the Western country. They consider themselves Central European. But anyway, it's plummeting all throughout the West, pretty much all the races. This is not good. And so it's a universal problem. It's not specific to white women or Hispanic women or black women. It's all going way, way down. And I don't think it's a good thing, and we'll get into why that is. But anyway, them saying that, fertility rate's plummeting and women are just delaying it, no, these are problems. And that's why they're addressing it, and oh yeah, not a problem. No. The motherhood last, career first agenda. So when I went on that interview with Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid earlier this year, I was talking specifically about how women are fed fake choices. They get pushed, basically they're going through life as a woman, which is different than life as a man. For example, fertility for women peaks at about 22 years old. As a man, I could easily have children at 40, 50, well, even at 60 if I'm healthy and fit. That's way different from a woman who that's not even possible at, say, age 60. So the motherhood last, career first agenda is a fantastic example of the fake choice that women are fed. They're fed education first, advanced education. It puts you into a ton of debt that's non-dischargeable for a job you're probably never going to get with a crap ton of debt that you can't even get rid of. It's a special type of student loan debt you can't even discharge through bankruptcy, which is, I think, a bad thing that changed back in the 2000s, and you need to get rid of that. But what's never said is that when you put your education first and your career first before motherhood and your children that are waiting for you in the future, you're putting your children last. If career is first, motherhood ain't. If career is first or education or whatever, something else is going to come second or third or fourth. Maybe an education and whatever you're going to choose. Hopefully, too, it's a good thing, maybe like law, education, science, like a STEM thing, and not some BS like gender studies or whatever crap they keep making up. But anyway, if motherhood is not first and career is first, motherhood's going to be somewhere down the line. I think that's a choice you can't make. We live in a free country. I think that's a very good thing. People attack me like when I say these things, like, oh, you just want to control women. There was like a TV show, The Real. These women on TV were yelling at us about the convention. And they were like, they just want to control women. That's really how, you can go listen to it on YouTube. It's called The Real. Type The Real, Make Women Great Again. It should come up. It's pretty funny. But this is basically a straw man argument. This is not what I'm saying. We live in a free country, and that's a good thing. You do have choices to make when you're young as a woman, just like I do as a man. But you need to make the best choices you can, and women being fed choice, the forcefulness of that choice that feminists promote to young women that are 19, 20, 23, whatever, they're pushing you to a specific life path of choices, and they're not revealing all the details. So young women today, by putting motherhood last, I think are making a very dangerous choice, and they're doing it without all the facts, not even remotely all the facts. They're doing it from a place of ignorance, in a place that's a lacking wisdom that you would typically get as you get older, or if you had a strong family, or a strong extended family, and things like that have fallen out today throughout the United States. I do want to mention too, by the way, that we talk a lot about family values, well, some people do anyway, in America, and people then talk about the collapse of the family, the nuclear family. But really a bigger problem perhaps, or at least a huge problem that's co-occurring alongside of it in an auxiliary way, is the collapse of the extended family. People no longer get to grow up and know their aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandparents or grandfathers as much as they used to. And I think that's a very bad thing, and I think extended families should play a huge role, and traditionally I believe they did. You got to know these people a lot better and you were a lot closer to them. There's certain reasons to that are not entirely feminist related. Technology, industry, the economy changing, all that. But culturally, there should be a fabric of keeping extended families close, or at least in close contact. And technology, of course, can be a helper for that too now. But anyway, the collapse of the extended family is a big problem. And not enough people talk about it, except one of my good friends, DDJ, on YouTube, and the Redman Group. Anyway, if motherhood is not first and career is first, motherhood's going to be last or second or third. That's a big problem, and feminists don't want to own this. But they've been promoting this night and day for decades and decades and decades. And the rise, the epidemic of single motherhood, which is now for the black community in America at about 70%, which is crazy. I mean, it's massively high. For Hispanics and white women, it's about, or the race is about 40%, which is huge. I mean, 100 years ago, single motherhood in America, the rate was 2%. For it to be now over 40% on average for all the races is bananas. And it keeps getting growing and growing and growing and growing. The other speakers have probably talked to you about this at the event. So feminists have had a huge role in downsizing motherhood and downplaying it, minimizing it. You can just do it later, and we're going to get into a little more here. But they need to own this, and they need to own it by we need to call them out. You can have it all, never settle. Yep. One of my friends posted this on Instagram. I think Elliot Holst posted this one, actually. It's a great meme. So, like I mentioned with feminists, a lot of what they do, as Ayn Rand would call it, is package dealing. They sell you these great things. You can have it all, baby. I mean, it's a great promise, like politicians, right? They'll give you a bunch of free shit. You can have it all, baby. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Everything you want. You want the career, you want a bunch of kids, you want an amazing husband, super badass alpha man, you can have it all for free. Just do what I tell you. No. By the way, the other speakers have kind of talked to you about, look up everything I say. I don't expect you guys, ladies, to believe anything I say off the bat. Look it up, check it, verify it all you want. Anyway, this is a very effective thing that they've said to women that have really roped them into a lot of bad decisions. You can have it all, never settle. And there's 1,000 feminist slogans like this and hashtags you can find, these mantras they have. Eat, pray, love, and all this stuff. It's very negative messaging that just sounds very positive. It's concealed. It's hidden. But this is, women say this. They say, when I'm young, I see women all the time say stuff on the internet, I just want to find myself. And when they're young, they have a lot of eggs. As you guys might have heard from my good friend Stefan Molyneux at our convention last year, he was famous for going after, I think, Alyssa Milano or somebody on Twitter. He told her that her eggs were all dying. Because by age 30, for women, 90% of your eggs are dead. They're gone. Basically, the fall off is exponential, not linear. And that's a big thing that women don't even know. I can guarantee you that I can go meet women in Orlando here at bars and clubs that are 25 years old. They don't have a clue that almost all their eggs are gone by 30. And by age 37 or 38, I think it's like 97%, 98%. So it's an exponential fall off. There's other problems associated with this too that we're going to get into. But anyway, women are young today. They say they want to find themselves, and they're out partying, just going bananas these days. And then they're a little bit older, and this is actually a picture of her now vomiting into I've had some girls after this too, but I'm a strong woman. Now they're running out of eggs, now that they're 30, hitting the 30 wall maybe. And then finally, no eggs are left in the carton at the bottom when she's like 35. And at 35, if you don't know this, that's actually called an advanced maternity age. I learned this a couple years ago, or a geriatric pregnancy. And this is actually still a modern description by modern medicine. So if I say this and on the internet, the women get mad and stuff, the feminists, this is actually what it's still called. And I guess some, in our PC culture, people get offended by this. But that's what it is. Men in the manosphere and whatever, doctors, they didn't make it this way. If you're religious, I guess God created nature and whatever, but I just view it as nature. Men and women are different, and women by age 35, it's an advanced pregnancy that has more risks for the child, birth defects, more risks for the pregnancy itself, more risks for childbirth, and complications through all that. Never mind bouncing back, never mind breastfeeding your child, never mind raising the child and being a mother with a little kid running around, like terrible twos and stuff. I love babies, but I love kids. But they go banana, they can go wild, I was a rascal, as you can imagine, as a kid. So men and women are different. We're going to bring it all together a little bit. Most young women today in America really have no idea that peak fertility is around 21, 22 years old. When you're the most fertile, the most beautiful, the most fit, the most healthy you'll ever be in your life, the most ready to have children. And it's like the best way to do it in terms of lower birth defects, having a problem-free pregnancy, and everything associated with that. And Motherhood First, this is what this means. My grandmother had my uncle at 16 years old. Now, by today's standards, that's like really young, but I can guarantee you it's a lot better than 36 or 40 or 39 like we're seeing today. We see the egg carton. This is a funny meme and all that, from a certain perspective anyway. But women today are also freezing their eggs. This is a new technology, and they're freezing their eggs and then freezing them. I mean, and then, by the way, that's a high failure rate. Another thing that is hidden from women. There's these feminist articles tell women to, freeze your eggs, you'll be fine, do something, be a mother later. Number one, the failure rate's really high. Number two, it's expensive. Number three, what is more unromantic than getting married in your mid or late 30s and your husband has to jerk off into a cup to then impregnate your unfrozen eggs? Like, this is delusional. It's like, I'm glad the technology exists, I guess. Like, it's interesting that we've been able to do this. But then it's also like some sci-fi Gattaca Blade Runner crap. And this is not romantic. This is not loving. This is not wise. There's still problems associated with pregnancy, even in trying to have babies later doing this. It's really bizarre that this is becoming normalized. That it exists, okay, we live in a free country. That this is normalized and it's fed like it's going to be this great thing, no, total BS. And they sell it with sweet lies. It's never the feminists will never yell this at you. It's always sold sweetly. You can have it all, baby, just delay it. Don't worry about it. No, don't freeze your eggs. Keep them fresh, healthy, like at the store. So women reach peak fertility around 22. Even as a guy in the manosphere, I didn't know that a couple years ago. And I guarantee young women today don't know that. And that's a big fact. And if you know that, just one fact, and choose differently, okay. Most women don't even know this. 90% of your eggs are dead by 30. Geriatric high-risk pregnancy at 35. 35 in today's world sounds young. We're living, due to technology and civilization, we're living well in our 70s and 80s. My grandmother, for example, died at 92 years old back in 2011. My favorite grandma. She was amazing. I did have two growing up, though, which is pretty nice. But 35, I mean, that's it. It is what it is. That's not going to change. Unless technology gets like super advanced, which we're not at, that's a big number. And in the manosphere, we call it the 35 wall. Most guys in the manosphere, we actually fight among each other about this. They say the 30 wall is a big wall. I see the wall, as it's called, at 30, 35, and 40. The series of walls. And 35 is probably the most serious. 30, I think, is overblown. The guys, like, they bitch about this too much, in my opinion. But 35 is a serious one that has serious biological consequences. And this is like not a disputed fact. It just is what it is. And women need to know this and make better decisions. Egg freezing sucks. It's kind of weird. It's unromantic. Do you really want that done? Probably not. And a high failure rate, and it's expensive. There's an article that came out, I think, about a year ago. I think a woman in the UK did this, and all of it failed. She had like 10 of them, I think, frozen or something, and all of them failed. And she was past 40, so she couldn't even do anything else at that point. And she thought, she didn't know. She just had it done, she paid it. They don't tell you the risks and stuff. If it's in a document, who reads like these documents, like 80 pages long? No one reads this crap. Yeah, of course it didn't. And then she can't have kids now. That's it. You're done. You're screwed. Thanks to what? I can almost guarantee you it wasn't dudes like me that were like, yo, freeze your eggs, you're gonna be fine. No, it's feminists. This is what feminists do, either directly or through indirect methods on the internet, these sweet lies and papers and whatnot. Promiscuity makes women miserable. There's a lot of studies about this, a lot of charts. Stefan Molyneux and other speakers that we've had at this convention as well have shown this. The more partners women have, let me back up here. I'm very sex positive. I think women over a lifetime should have as much sex as possible with as few men as possible. And that's controversial, I get it, duh. But I really believe that. So promiscuous behavior tends to make women miserable, and it's exponentially more dangerous for them than for men. Men can get damaged too. You know, some of our speakers are very anti-premarital sex. Jesse Lee Peterson, Michael Foster, and these other speakers. But it damages women a lot quicker, and it's harder to fix in women once it happens. And the studies show over time that as women gain sexual partner counts, basically their ability to pair bond gets damaged. And this is what happens when you delay motherhood. If you don't get wifed up, knocked up, and you screw around on Tinder banging dudes like me, I'm not a martyr. I'm not going to stop women from having sex with me. But you probably shouldn't do this. This is bad for you. I don't think women should be doing this when they're young. They should be getting into marriages and building families with as masculine men as they can find. We like to go alpha male, beta male. Really, I think a spectrum of masculinity is a much better viewpoint to look at. But anyway, doing it as soon as they can without screwing it up. And extended families, I think, should play a role in that too, which is why extended families falling apart is a big issue. If you're a young woman and a young man, I know when I was 21, I thought into everything. Surprise, I didn't. At 32, I know a little bit more, including how much I don't know. I don't expect young women to be geniuses that can foresee 30 years into the future of a family and a marriage. It's ridiculous. This is why families are important, nuclear and extended. And even beyond that, if you have a lot of churches are infected with feminists and other garbage, like the guys I've been telling you here. But if you have someone you know in a church or some sort of organization you're part of, look into that and get their insight. People who are not, especially, families are good and useful, but they're close to you. They could be biased. They could have their own agenda, right? Even if they mean well. People who are a little more distant from you, they're going to have less of a bias, I think. And they can give you some more feedback to make better decisions. And it is important, I think, to stay married and not get divorced. Again, I'm not religious. I don't think anyone's going to hell if they get divorced. Although sometimes on Twitter, I troll people with this. It's a lot of fun. But they should make the best decision you can, as soon as you can, to get married and build a family and become a mother, if that's what you choose to do, knowing as many facts as you can. And they should do it without screwing it up, which is hard, and it's not risk-free. Even the best decision, even with the best facts and the best families and the best influences, it's not a guarantee. There are no guarantees in life. The best thing you can do is make the best decision you can that's wise and admirable, and you get influence from people that you trust that give you different viewpoints. That's why this convention, for example, like I said, is important that we have diverse viewpoints. I don't dictate what these guys say. They just do what they want. I'm very open-minded like that. So feminism has made women alcoholics. Well, let's back up here. Radical feminism, I think, has made women miserable. I do think there's a link there. You can't just kind of throw that out the window at it, that correlation, causation, all that. But to me, this is kind of a no-brainer. But feminism's been getting increasingly radical the past couple of decades. I think it's really gone off the rails the past 10 years, and women are less happy than they've ever been, to the point that this is confusing to the feminists. It's not. I think feminism has contributed massively to women becoming alcoholics and taking a lot of psychiatric medications which are not going to work. If they do work, it's kind of a short-term thing, and you can get hooked on them, all kinds of problems. Getting off antidepressants, for example, is a big deal. And they should tell you this when they prescribe them. Delaying motherhood can lead, like I mentioned, to barren wombs and empty homes. We'll get into this some more in a second. Cat babies and cat kingdoms. Disclaimer, I'm a cat daddy. I love cats. My sisters call me the cat daddy because I feed like stray cats and stuff. Kind of a crazy cat guy. I love cats. But, we'll get into it here. So this is another meme. So women tend to accumulate a lot of cats, and in the manosphere, there's a lot of jokes and shit about this. I think cats are the right idea, but the wrong species. So cat babies, good idea, but wrong species. And human babies, like the one over here, that's a much better idea. So I think women have, becoming a mother and first of all being a woman, femininity, you have an instinct to nurture small things that need your help, like children that love you and that you love them. Cats are basically a replacement for this, for women who delay motherhood too long and too much. They really want children, and this is why, as men, we warn other dudes, like, watch out for the crazy cat lady, because it's a replacement for when she makes bad decisions, she's replacing these babies that she doesn't have with cat babies. And again, I love cats. If you like cats, that's great. Just don't have like 10 of them and no babies. Human babies first, cat babies second. And then she's eating cat food, drinking the wine and stuff. This is super common. That's why guys make memes out of it. I know it can be kind of mean and offensive and stuff, but there's a reason. Stereotypes are not literally true 100% of the time, but they get made typically because there's a lot of data for it that people see out in the real world. And then you see it in stand-up comedy, and you see it in memes, and you see it on the internet. There's a reason this was made. I didn't make this. Somebody made this. So cat babies, right idea, wrong species. Get the species right. This is the right species. These are my nephews. We got Bryson here on the right, my right, and Tyson on the left, his little brother. He's fresh out of the womb. He's like 5 weeks old now. Bryson just turned 1, so they're like Irish twins. Bryson and Tyson. So again, cat babies are the right idea, wrong species. Right species. And choices have consequences. Zach Small. He used to be called Hunter Drew, now he's Zach Small. It's complicated. We all have weird names in this community. Anthony Dream Johnson, which people went bananas with. I'll get Hunter Drew, Zach Small. You'll understand soon. Anyway, he's famous, in my mind anyway, for saying choices have consequences. I'm sure he's not the first guy in history to say that, but he said it at our convention last year, and he made a big deal out of it. It really stuck with me since then in 2019. The choices have consequences. They can have, consequences can be bad, but they can be good, and we call them benefits. You put motherhood first, and most women probably should, if they want to be happy and live a great life. And you could do whatever you want later. And the internet, I should mention too, obviously, technology and the internet have really changed a lot for women who want to do something. If you really want to build a business or work some kind of career, you can A, do things later, or B, you can do things part-time, and C, you can do things from home. I've worked from home my entire life. COVID didn't affect me at all that way. COVID was a pain in the ass, this whole pandemic crap this year. But as far as me working, I kept working, 80 hours a week or whatever I do. I work a lot. I love this job. I really love doing all this stuff. It's amazing. Before I get off track, though, there's a lot of options for putting motherhood first. You can still work and do other things. Too many tangents in my head here. Anyway, benefits of good choices, like my little nephews, Bryson and Tyson. I want to mention, too, there's an important point with this. I have 2 sisters, so I got a couple. I got a pair of them, right? I got the older one and the little one. The little one just turned 29. Now she got 2 babies, doing good. I said limited babies, and then she made limited babies. There's gonna be more on the way too. But I've noticed when she was born. I was 3 years old when she was born, and I remember when she was born, the day she was born at the hospital down in Cape Coral, Florida. So I've seen her grow her entire life. And I'll be honest, until about 4 or 5 years ago, she wasn't doing that great. Then she kind of changed her life around. She did very positive direction, we'll say. And now with the baby, she's doing better than I've ever seen her. Just like Michael Foster said yesterday to you, women become efficiency machines and they become mothers. They become focused and they become mature and become patient and a lot of very good characteristics for your personality. Not that men need these too, right? But I've seen my little sister become more mature and more patient and more feminine and happier than I've ever seen her in my life. She radiates it now. She loves it. And she just, grew these 2, just boom, boom, back to back. And there'll be more too. I can't wait. Maybe they need to wait like probably a couple years this time. But these two came out pretty fast. We'll see. But she's loving it, and I'm loving seeing her do that as her brother. And I'm so happy for her, but I'm so proud too. She's 29. I've never been more proud of her in my entire life. And I think a lot of young American women would be a lot better off choosing this route than, working at Starbucks or something like in their 20s and goof around on Tinder. It's just stupid. This is a lot smarter, much better, much more fun too. So women need to get, when they're young, they need to get wifed up, knocked up, to live happy. These are me and my nephews. I figured that would enrage all the feminists. I say these things because they're polarizing and offensive, but I really mean them, and I mean them in a positive way. For most women, this is going to be a much better option than trying to get an advanced education when you're super young and super fertile, which then drops off a cliff exponentially, and other health markers, biomarkers along with it. Strength training, like Jay talked to you about, will actually help resolve a lot of these, or basically slow down the process of aging in a lot of very useful ways, for beauty, for your health, for your skin, for your muscles, for your bones as a woman too, but then also fertility and these other issues. But still, women should, if they want to build a family, do it as soon as you can, young, wifed up, knocked up, boom. Hopefully in that order. But hey, shit happens. Live happy. I did talk about female happiness coming from women having a ton of sex with as much as they can with as few men as possible, but also comes from making cookies, sandwiches, and babies. I think this is a great thing. Women don't have to do this, but it's a pretty good life. I think women have been lied to about, Michael Foster again was talking to you about that, how the patriarchy is inevitable. You can go work at a job somewhere, some giant corporation or something, and they don't care about you, and they might fire you, and they won't think 2 seconds about you. Maybe someone you knew there that fired you will care about you, and that's it. And that goes away. Being a mother, growing a human being is a very unique thing. We can't do this as men. We obviously connect and breed, but you're the ones who grow the babies and nurture them and feed them and mother them. Parenting is too generic. Being a mother is very different from being a father and vice versa. This should not be missed. If, women that delay motherhood, like that article was talking about, delay, you could be missing out on children that would never exist. Maybe you have 1 or 2 kids if you delay motherhood to 37 instead of you having it at 27 or 21 or something. You could have 5 kids. Now we'll talk about unlimited babies here. I'm really proud of Michael Foster just banging out kids left as much as he can. He's got 7 now. He actually, it's funny because I interviewed him a few weeks ago for the first time, Michael Foster in the Red Man Group, my podcast show. And he talks about how he says his wife doesn't like it, but I think she does like it. I think that's not right. I think she loves it actually. He calls her his grape because she's like a grape he's going to squeeze into a prune. He's going to squeeze all babies out of her. He's got 7, which that's a lot of kids, especially today. But I think women should have unlimited babies. And when I say this too, this triggers the crap out of people, but it's a great thing. Women should have as many babies as they want without getting bullied. And that's another thing I see too. When I talk about women having a lot of kids, I think it's a great thing. And they should also, most likely put a man's preference for babies too as a priority, as an act of submission. That's what Michael's wife is doing, Michael Foster. He wants a lot of kids and she's going along with it, but he's the one leading that relationship. And then she's his grape and he's a squeezer into a prune, which is pretty funny. But women also get bullied when they defend me on the internet about women just having a lot of children and building big families. They get bullied. And feminists will deny this bullshit. Go on Facebook or Twitter and type 22 Convention or Make Women Great Again, and you will see vicious, nasty women that are feminists and just raging pissed off. And so it's BS. They really go after it. They say it's building families and marriage. They call marriage now for women a lot of times. They call it internalized misogyny, internalized patriarchy. This is all bullshit. Babies and families and an awesome husband and a life like that make women happy. Certainly, this is a super viable path that I think most women are happy with. Much better than building some career at a corporation that doesn't give a shit about you. No. You want to do that later or build a business or do something amazing? Choose wisely, because it can be done. Women have done it. Ayn Rand has said is a good example of that. Janice Fimengo is another one. But choose wisely. So I want to promote, and I have been, I think, building out throughout this speech, the new Motherhood First timeline. So again, young women today, they graduate high school with men, okay. Then they try to, I think, mimic men in college. They go after the same things, they go the same pace, even though they have completely fundamentally different reproductive life timelines, exact same behavior pattern. 18, now we go to college, boom. Getting all this debt, that's probably a bad idea for men and women. They do this. Now they get out. They go to more schooling or whatever. They go to some apprenticeship or something. Then they go to try to build a career. Then all of a sudden they're 29 and they're freaking out that they're going to hit 30. Then try to like settle down real quick, or maybe 34, 35. Try to build a family real quick. No. Motherhood should come first. This is a better timeline. What we're doing here, and the reason I wanted to flip this like that, there's something very specific here. Motherhood first is the inverse of what women in America and throughout the West are taught to do today, what they're actively encouraged and pushed to do. We need to flip how most women operate in America on its head, completely. Motherhood first, put your career and education second. If you want to do that. I should say here on the stage, it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom. It's okay to be a suburban housewife, as Trump has been tweeting lately, which is pretty funny. I love it. Suburban housewives are going to vote for me. Vote Dream 2020. You don't have to work. If you want to, you probably should. Figure out what you want to do, choose wisely, but do it in a way that makes biological, rational sense with facts. Don't just throw away your fertility when you're young. Bad idea. That's why I love, when I mentioned in my opening speech, that Curtis Connor kid, that YouTuber that attacked me, and he has a bunch of teenage girls that follow him. He thinks he did a great thing attacking me, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. This is awesome. You give me direct access to like millions of young women that are never going to get this kind of information, ever. There's almost no one in culture talking to young women today about these issues. Nothing. If they don't want to listen, they're going to watch this because they stalk my channel now. They'll watch this, great. And if you don't want to do any of this, if you want to become a mother at 39 or never, okay, weed yourself out of the gene pool. Congratulations. But at least they're going to listen and make a decision with some facts, rather than just completely ignorant. That's one of the reasons I wanted to make women great again and abolish feminism. Women today have no counter to feminism. There's nothing. There's nothing basically. There's no positive feminine education in the culture for how to be a woman. There's nothing. It's a dead zone. It's a no woman's land, I guess, no man's land. There's nothing. They don't get it in school. They don't get it in church. They don't get it in their community. They barely get it in their home, if at all. Maybe if they're from a super tight community like the Mormons or the Amish or something. That's it. That's like all that's left. Otherwise, it's like Tanner Guzy calls it, he calls it the wastelands outside of the Mormon community. And that's in a positive way, an aggressive way to put it, but in a way he's right. It's the Wild West out there right now. I've been on the dating market for 5 years now, and it's pretty wild out there. It's pretty wild. I call it like Mad Max or Mad Maxie. Anyway, motherhood first. And this is the inverse of what women are taught today. But nobody talks about it. They put motherhood last? No. Motherhood first. Like I mentioned, Ayn Rand, and then Janice Fiamengo, one of my good friends, Janice Fiamengo, she came on. She'll be here next year at the convention. Neither Ayn Rand, who's famous, author, philosopher, all that, many presidents and people have talked about her over the years as an influence. Paul Ryan, Trump has mentioned her, Obama mentioned her, Reagan was influenced by her. I mean, she's an amazing, amazing woman, great woman, but she was not a mother. Motherhood is not mandatory. You don't have to get breed, you don't have to get wifed up and knocked up. But most young women are going to be happiest, I think, with this path in life. And that's hidden from them, and it's delayed, and it's manipulated for them, and it's stupid. They need to learn the facts and make better decisions. And it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom. It's okay to be a housewife. But again, you don't have to. And there have been great women. I love these women. Ayn Rand and Janice Fiamengo. So you have options. And it's part of living in a free country. That's a good thing. So in the manosphere for men, we have an author called Dr. Robert Glover. Maybe you've heard of him. He's a marriage and family therapist for, I think, like 30 years now. He's a PhD, too, so he's a PhD in it, not just a master's. He has a famous book for men that's really awesome and super well respected. It's sold with millions of copies. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And maybe you've heard the saying, nice guys finish last. You probably experienced this in your own life. Some nice guy in the friend zone, and he has like real estate in the friend zone. He like lives there. He buys like city blocks and the shit, right? All the girls are friends with him, and women hate him, basically. Anyway, nice guys do finish last. It's not attractive when guys are not too nice, not kind, which is a good thing for men, I think, with women, especially the woman they love, like a husband and a wife. But nice guys finish last, and it sucks for them, and we teach them to not be nice. Stop being a pushover, stop being so fucking nice, be a badass, be hard, have a fucking edge to you, to your soul as a man. For women, it's the opposite, because men and women are different. Nice girls finish first. And I posted this, that's so it would be associated with Motherhood First, obviously. This is a great meme that came from Lori Alexander. She's a blogger, The Transformed Wife. Great lady. I follow her on Twitter a lot. I've talked to her a lot through email. Super great. I love her. But she made this image, this meme. This was about 2 years ago, and it went super viral. It went just bananas everywhere. It drove the feminists nuts. And it's a meme where it says, "Men prefer debt-free virgins without tattoos." This is a true statement, and that's why I think it enraged so many people. She spoke an unspoken truth. And she's very Christian and all that, like some of our speakers here. I love this image, and it's very, it's a great association with Nice Girls Finish First. That's the truth. If you want to win as a woman, as a young woman who's watching this on video or whatever, you're 21 years old, you don't need to be strong and independent. These are masculine traits. Men are not attracted to strong, independent women. We already have that in truckloads. We don't need that in our lives. We want things that we don't have, softness and femininity and things like this. So nice girls finish first, bad girls finish last. This kind of woman gets like half a dozen kids or 7, like Michael Foster's wife. Bad girls get like 1 kid or no kids, and they get no husband. They end up single moms. Not good. Broken families. So Motherhood First, that's my presentation. Motherhood First, America First, Canada First, Britain First. Build families, get wifed up, get knocked up. Thank you. I do have a little time for questions if there are some. Looks like we have some. Those will be fun. They can bring the mic to you if you need that. We want to get it on audio. They'll bring a mic to you. Okay. Yeah. We'll let her go first, and then we'll bring it to you. Yep. Thank you. You can go.
Anthony, I really like the concept that you're creating, and I really love your presentation.
Thank you.
And that's what a woman is looking for, a man who's not being adversarial, who's trying to answer questions for us so we can together create a unity and be back to productivity. And I agree with you. I have a child your age who's actually still not sure she wants to have children. And I'm trying to convince her that, humanity is not going to go forward if a whole generation decides they're not having children. So yes. So keep on preaching that. So I really like the idea. I think what I think I hear is there's a bit of bitterness that comes, in general in this particular conference that needs to be addressed, and you probably need to speak to your speakers as well and explain to them what that concept you just pushed forward. You're pushing family forward. Family is what the problem is. Family has been destroyed in this country. I mean, you have men that actually abandon their families in jail or wherever. So women are a problem, but the family, the whole family, men and women are a problem.
I have a comment on this that I think will clear up where you're going with this, if I can interject here. Whoa. So I heard this going on with Coach Greg's speech before at the end too, the kind of back and forth, the dialogue that was good. I loved it. I was in the back there listening. So one of the things I said on my page for the 21 convention, the marketing, not the 22 convention, but it's closely related. In my view, you said the family has collapsed, right? And the family's falling. This is true. But where does the family come from? It comes from a man and a woman banging, literally, having sex, right? What does that mean, though? That's, man and woman, so what? Well, you have 2 human beings, so we're a sexually dimorphic species. We have 2 sexes. We have a 2-gender system. 2-gender system works fantastic. It's worked for like a couple 100,000 years, in my understanding of, science and all that. But specifically, I think in the West, what we're seeing is not just families, the family falling apart and family values and all that, it's gender relations are collapsing. In America, we talk about race relations a lot, different demographics, right? What we don't talk about ever, it's never said, but it makes perfect sense, is gender relations. And feminism, in my view, has massively attacked this. This is what's really falling apart, and this is what builds civilization. There needs to be some other things associated with it, freedom, liberty.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. Things, extreme things like feminism or MGTOW should actually be pushed away. What we need is that middle place where we can put our minds together and fix a problem. We've identified the problem. So the problem is we're not having as many children anymore. Family is destroyed. So let's bring family back together. And the way to bring family back together is to have that dialogue. Is to say, well, what is it that I can do to actually make it better for you or for a man to actually want to continue to do that dialogue. But we can't be blaming each other is never going to be the way this is going to work.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Because, just like I was telling somebody, we all can enter a room. Let's say there's a prize in a room and the door is closed. There's a lock and a key. We cannot enter with the lock only. We cannot enter with the key only. We
Agree.
need both. So we have got to put our minds together. I know a lot of good women that are saying exactly what this group of men are saying. Well, what happened to the good men?
Yeah.
Well, the men are saying, well, what happened to the good women, all the Jezebel and whatever? That's not true. There's plenty of good women out
There's
there.
definitely a
There's plenty of
relationship between the masculine and the feminine that's falling apart, and it sucks
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah,
So you
but-
can't point
and
fingers.
and the solution, would you agree, is to put it together, to find a way to get it back together.
Yes.
The way that that my parents did.
Gender
my parents had
relations-
8 kids.
I think America, this century, America will die. Basically, America will die or feminism will die. And I'm using feminism as a placeholder for gender relations. Gender relations are falling apart. We've seen that, I think, especially the past 10 years, and they need to be healed. That means healing masculinity for the men and femininity for the women. And this idea, Make Women Great Again, in my opinion, is the first serious push for positive femininity in the United States and in the West. That article from Secular Patriarchy I mentioned in my opening address specifically addressed that. Because like I said, there's nothing for women out there today. If you're a 19-year-old girl in America, regardless of your race, specific age too much, demographic, religion, doesn't matter. They have nowhere to go and nothing to learn. They either have nothing or feminism. It's feminism or nothing.
And that's true for some.
Yeah.
I am a 53-year-old woman who was married at 20 and had a child at 21,
Nice.
and have 2 children and miscarried 2 children. So I'm
Damn.
certainly not the person
Yeah.
that you're describing. But I'm just saying, and yes, you can have career and you can have family at the same time.
Yeah.
You may not, and you're right, it may not be perfect, but it definitely can work.
Yeah, sure,
You
yeah.
just have to be paired with the proper person. So it's
Yeah.
not a man woman. You have to find a person who can work with you and bring you to that place where it works. So what we need is to have family to work,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Without family, we're all going to die. I mean, basically.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
simplest way to put it. Next question to the mother over here. Trevor, can you? Oh, okay.
I got it. She woke up anyway.
Okay.
So I wanted to comment that you are right on. So I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or as you refer to as Mormon.
Okay.
And even in that community growing up, I could never put my finger on it. But like, just with social media and high school friends and everything,
Yep.
I felt like it was shameful and disgusting to want to have kids. Could not admit it, couldn't figure out why, where it came from.
Damn.
Got married young, I absolutely loved my husband. And I just couldn't figure out, I'm like, why do I feel like embarrassed or shameful to want to have kids?
You feel guilty.
Yeah, like I was
Yeah.
like, where does this come from? This isn't right.
Yep.
Whether you're religious or not, whether it comes from God or from nature, that doesn't work. It's not right, And
Yeah.
obviously you look at it, it's like kids are a blessing, and wonderful to have.
Yep.
And so finally got pregnant and I realized it was great.
Yeah. I'm
But,
happy for you.
Absolutely love it. And
good thought.
it's wrong, and you're right. We need to change society's outlook. That women, we don't even know where we're hearing it, but we're being told, don't get pregnant, don't want kids,
Yep.
go to college. Why? I hated college.
Men get the same propaganda too. Yeah.
It's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, and you're miserable. And it's
Yeah.
true. And it's, benefits everybody when you're happy and you're doing what you're meant to be doing.
I want
And
to comment
guess-
too that on this point specifically here, that this is the first time in human history that we're seeing this kind of behavior. Like, this is brand new, and it's not just feminism. Birth control is an issue too, which is associated with feminism, but it's its own technology too. So there's a lot that's brand new in human life, and we've been alive for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and this is all brand new, and it's going off the rails.
Oh yeah, and it's just unprecedented, and
Yeah.
it's women, our youth are being taught, don't do this, and
Yeah.
you're right. Yes, if you're young and you're not in a good relationship, obviously you should abstain.
Yeah,
But,
don't screw up.
When
Don't screw
things
up.
are right, it's healthy and it makes you happy and everybody happy.
Yeah.
And I guess I just wanted to, add that comment to what you were saying, but I do have a question.
Okay, yeah,
So-
shoot, yeah.
So my best friend since I was 6, she's like my sister, we're like the same person. She already graduated college, and even the last couple of years before she graduated college, she's dated guys, and she just cannot seem to meet people, or like meet a strong guy. Like she, thought she found a good guy, and then he thought, oh, you have a good job. I don't need to have a good job. I'm gonna stay at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
And she got sick of that. And now especially with COVID, she's like, I feel like meeting online, guys just want to hook up. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
How do you recommend people go out and meet realistically? Especially in this day and age, she works from home now.
Yeah.
Where do you meet people? You go to bars and you meet alcoholics or guys that just want to hook up.
Yeah.
You go online, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So number one, 2020, I thank you for the question and the comments. Number one, 2020 is super bizarre. So let's hope this new normal crap just dies like immediately as fast as it can. Because that really has screwed up dating even worse. And it was already falling off a cliff into pit of hell, just to use a phrase, right? So I'm not even going to comment on 2020 because it's just ridiculous. This whole year is just absolutely insane. And it's made things even worse, like I said, with an already, Socrates talked to you about the sexual marketplace. The sexual marketplace is collapsing if you look at view like a stock market. It's just bananas out there. It's the Wild West. As far as where to meet, I would recommend this. Specifically, guys, stay off Tinder and Bumble. Stay off. Delete the app. Don't download it. Stay away from it. Poison. Number two, she should consider looking in unseen or unthought of places, meaning think outside the box. So you're right, bars and stuff, you might get lucky, meet some guy, but most likely you're going to meet a lot of guys that are going to be drunk, hitting on you super aggressive, and they just want to bang. And a lot of them will probably tell you that because they're drunk. So stay away from that stuff if they can. Look in places where she's not looking yet. So if she does like maybe, I wouldn't say yoga, but in Florida I love the beach, for example. So I do try to meet women out at the beach. I go to Cocoa Beach, hang out with Tony Bruno, George Bruno's brother actually. So just have her step back and pause and look in places that she's not looking yet. And yeah, stay away from the common ones, bar and all that.
Okay.
Maybe common interests. I'm not super big on common interests and stuff, but I do think common values are useful for a relationship. So that could be something too.
Yeah.
But stay away from the negatives and look for something positive that's kind of like unusual.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe a library. Yeah. I don't know. Oh wait. Last answer though. She can go to the 21 convention and to meet the men.
Yeah.
20. I'll sell them off one by one. $1,000 a piece.
Okay.
Welcome.
I've got a question about how are you addressing the new demon against motherhood, which is environmental footprints and all that kind of
overpopulation
climate
stuff.
Change and it
So
seems to be having an impact. People are buying it.
Yeah, so my view, just to throw it out there, my view on overpopulation, all this crap, I just call it feminist conspiracy theories. I hear people who even are not feminists, just average people talk about this, and I'm like, I don't think this is a thing. So it's BS. They need to look up the science on it. They need to do some research and stop accepting things without skepticism. Being skeptical is a good thing. I mentioned being open-minded earlier, just kind of riffing around on it. I'm actually not open-minded or closed-minded. I like Ayn Rand's view of being open or active or closed-minded. She had a third one called being active-minded. And that means being open-minded, but not so open that your brains are falling out of your head. And with this overpopulation stuff, I'll say it this way. Extreme claims require extreme evidence. And with a lot of climate change stuff and overpopulation, to make and change massive life decisions like when to build a family, when to get pregnant and grow a human being inside of yourself, this is all just a bunch of BS nonsense. It's the latest propaganda. In 5 years, it'll be something else. And in 5 years after that, they'll bring it back around. It's all garbage. So hopefully the culture gets a lot healthier, more positive, and rationality kind of gets back into the forefront. And that means, extreme claims should be thrown out the window. If you think the world's going to end in 12 years, like AOC said, you're a fucking idiot. This is the dumbest shit I ever heard. Pardon the French, but yeah. Next question.
I want to thank you for the information that I got from your talk. I'm sorry I didn't get to hear it all, but I'm the adult leader for a group of young ladies between the ages of 11 and 20. We teach these young ladies to get ready for life. And I was talking about you should have your babies young. And I got almost attacked by some of my girls because they have been so inundated in the schools about having a career and a path to go on, that they have to get their way on that. And I had one little girl, we do a lot of talking when we travel from one place to another, and she was in the back seat of the car, and she says, well, I just want to get married and have a baby. And it was like somebody dropped a bomb.
Wow.
And all of the other girls were like,
yep.
Why? Why do you not want to be somebody? And I then turned around like the lion I am, I guess, and said, what do you mean be somebody. Anybody who would raise children is the greatest calling you can have. And that little girl is growing up without a father, and she has looked to my husband in the fatherly realm a lot of times. A lot of my girls come from broken homes, and that girl who jumped on her so badly is now looking the other way. She's looking to be. So maybe I'm making an influence, but I really wanted to thank you for the information I got.
You're welcome.
Because I'll pass it on.
Yeah, and a quick comment on what you brought up. I appreciate the comments here. Feminists have basically delegitimized successfully. They're very successful in the PR campaigns. They've delegitimized motherhood and wifehood as jobs and basically keepers of the home. These are real jobs. They're important. They're very fucking important. And they're hard, and they're serious, and they're tax-free. That's important. They're tax-free too. There's a lot of theories that a lot of what feminists, not feminists, but socialists wanted basically, if you get women into the workforce and out of the home, someone's got to raise your kids. You know, schools and daycares, strangers basically, and then they get taxed. And you go to work somewhere, you pay tax. If you perform, as a wife and a mother, you're saving a lot of money by performing those duties in your home, like raising your kids rather than paying someone to raise your kids. Never mind the benefits of actually raising your own offspring. But they've been very successful in delegitimizing and their hostility. It's a very fake, nice hostility, but it's very hostile against motherhood and wifehood, and it needs to end. And finally, I think men are getting together here and saying something about it. We're pretty combative, we're men. We say a lot of pretty wild, high testosterone shit, but I think that's what's needed. And that's why feminists have really killed off masculine voices to the point that they've vilified, men speaking out by calling it mansplaining, which is why I've now taken the term and stolen it. We're mansplainers now, the best in the world. Next question.
All right. So, to Priscilla's point about social pressure to avoid doing the rational thing, which would be having your children when you're young, there's also an added reward system built into this propaganda machine wherein you are praised if you have your children young without the man.
Yeah.
You can literally get paid to have illegitimate children.
Yep.
And they will advertise it.
Yep.
There's billboards all over this country.
Yeah,
There's
other countries too, like UK.
Everywhere, every woman knows, and if she doesn't know, she knows someone who knows which agencies and which applications to fill out.
Yep.
And unless you do it that way, there is something fundamentally wrong with you.
Yeah.
And even men push this on women, and I don't think they realize that they're doing that.
We call them Vichy males.
Vichy males,
the Vichy
yes.
French, the Vichy
yes.
males.
And they, unfortunately, appear to be in the majority. I think a lot of them may be borderline, not like psychologically borderline, but somewhere in the middle. Those are like the true purple pill type of guys, you know what I mean? Oh, I really want a feminine woman, but I'm not exactly a masculine man type of thing.
Yep.
And then there are just, like I always talk about it, there's just a series of catch-22s, and I think what really needs to happen is, yeah, I know doxing is scary and, all this stuff, but women really do need to see more men being more vocal and upfront and looking them dead in the eyes in personal interactions and hearing, give women the permission.
Are you telling me women love mansplaining?
I think I love mansplaining.
I'm sure, yeah. All women do. Last question, we got one more? Yeah.
Are you predominantly from Florida?
Oh yeah, I'm a Florida man, 1,000,000%.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you ever been to the Midwest or more northeast?
I just went. I went to South Dakota. I loved it.
Have you been to the South, like Louisiana, Mississippi, kind of like the Deep South?
No, only Georgia would be the closest I get to
Georgia.
that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking because I'm wondering if you've noticed a cultural difference between the North and the South as far as families and child raising and things like that go.
Yeah. So my comments on this, South Dakota I went to is my first time in the Midwest, and I did notice there's a lot less feminism basically. Masculinity was a little more common there, and women were basically more feminine, which I love. I love being around it. And in Florida, especially Orlando, a lot of tourist town, you don't have a lot of that. It reminded me of Poland. I went to Poland last year twice, the country, for about a month total last year for a convention we had there in Warsaw. And I loved it. And I loved it particularly because masculinity and femininity were so common and so abundant there. So it was a big shift I noticed in just living life there for a month. I loved it. South Dakota was a step towards Poland, but Poland was substantially higher, more masculinity and femininity, better, healthier gender relations, basically. I've been to Texas a little bit, but only Austin, which I don't think really counts. So yeah, in Florida is very different. Florida is the South. Technically, we're like as South as you get. But yeah, Florida, we're a very special place. There are a lot of Florida women and the Florida men are pretty wild. Just look on the news. There's a reason these are memes. But yeah, I worry about Florida. I love it. I was born and raised here. I want to die here if I can someday. Yeah, it's definitely not as good as the Midwest, I'll tell you that. The Midwest is a step in the right direction. I want to maybe move there someday, maybe get back and forth, become a snowbird, basically. Transform into a snowbird. But yeah, throughout the other parts of the United States, I need to travel throughout more in the U.S. I've traveled a lot around the world, 26 countries, but I've probably not even been to that many states, so I need to get more into it.
Food for thought, I guess, would be if you could go to Louisiana or Mississippi. I married a man who is from Mississippi, and it was a very big culture shock because all of his family lived on family land.
Wow.
Aunts, uncles, grandma,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
And it's very different. It's very accepted in the South to be a young mother, and
Nice.
it's not frowned upon. So I was just also thinking that if you were ever to move your convention, if you would consider moving it more south to continue, because I've noticed that the South is losing their cultural stability, not as far as traditions, family raising, things like that.
Possibly.
And it would be nice to continue that and to further it for it to be acceptable.
Yeah, maybe. We did Texas a long time ago, so maybe. That's it for questions. Thank you for your question. I got to wrap up. Thank you. Make women great again. Motherhood first. Now we're going on lunch. We're done. We can win this war.
We can win this war.
Okay, well, joining us from Orlando, Florida, is the man in that clip, Anthony Dream Johnson, who says he wants to abolish feminism and make women great again.
No, but it also says, with a trademark, make women great again. For women, always great.
Make women great again.
But they're going to do a 3-day seminar for women led by all men.
In mansplaining news, a 3-day conference for women led by men hopes to make women great again.
How the 22 convention will make you the greatest you ever. Raise your femininity by 500%.
First of all, how is a man supposed to tell a woman how to be the ultimate woman?
But women need to be taught how to be great again. Not my words.
We do.
Like how to land a husband, how to lose weight, how to pop out a bunch of kids.
Why do men think they need to fix the problems of women?
Well, it says the world's ultimate event for women.
In Orlando, Florida, that's going to be the scene of the crime. It's mansplaining palooza, and say no to the toxic bullying feminist dogma.
Taught by men to make women great again.
Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
The first president of the manosphere.
It's run by all men, which promises to, quote, make women great again. This course is guaranteed to raise your femininity by 500%.
Together, we will make women great again. Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing